We're here. It's been weeks. It's been 3 weeks. I know everybody's been patiently awaiting for us to be here, but we're here and the team's 1-2. And it's all over. We're all cooked. But we're back. Full Field Read is here for our regular season edition. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Robby Davis. Robby, how are you today, sir?
I am great. Just super excited to get through and just do the first show of the year.
100%, brother. Before we dive into it too much, give me a loose feeling about the first 3 weeks of the season. How are you feeling? We've marinated in it. We're cooking in the fridge, or we're absorbing the sauce in the fridge. How has it felt watching 3 weeks of the Sean Payton Bo Nix sophomore season experience?
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, in my opinion, I still think the team is fine. I think a lot of the worry and a lot of the overreaction is just due to the hype that was built up for this team offseason that I never believed. I never thought this team was going to come out and be a powerhouse. I never thought they were going to come out and be some solidified Super Bowl contender. I mean, and some fault is that on Sean Payton for the way he approached the offseason and a lot of these media sound bites. But I still think the team is fine. I think they're going to be fine. Sean Payton always gets off to these slow starts in September and ramps it up in October. It's literally been happening for almost 20 years now, even dating back to the Saints. But that's overall about the team. Now, about the Sean Payton and Bo Nix pairing, that's a little different. I won't lie, that's a little different. I think everybody by now knows that I pounded the table hard for Nix when he started out coming in from Oregon. And obviously everybody knows how big of a fan of Sean Payton I am, just as an offensive schemer, philosopher, and coach. But it is still early, but things aren't looking the best. And it's kind of discouraging. And I want to reiterate a point that you made so many times that's just so perfect, that quarterback development is not linear. And while I agree with that, I'm not saying that I expected to see a tangible jump this early on in his second year, but I expected to see a tad bit more. So that leads me to be a little bit more concerned than maybe I thought I would have to this point. But I mean, we're going to get into it today. We got a ton of clips to go over, and we can just get through our thought process live.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'll be honest, I was expecting a bit more of a tangible jump. I was like, it's so weird. Again, we'll get into it, but there were so many things from last year that I think we wanted to see improved upon, and not that necessarily all of those haven't been, but it feels like there's been areas of improvement in other spots that are cool to see, but it's kind of like, hey man, you kind of had like these red flags from last year that would have been cool to iron out maybe first, but at the same time, yeah, man, I mean, it's been sloppy. We've had a lot of penalties on every facet of the game, special teams, defense, the offense, which, it's just been kind of a mess so far. We've had kind of injuries limit, I think, some of what they can do personnel-wise. I know you saw the thing yesterday where they've only run, I forget however many snaps of 12 personnel, where
19.
We all kind of thought they were going to be going a lot heavier this year. I think they kind of tried to do that week 1 against the Titans when they saw actually their jumbo package with an eligible tackle actually been fairly successful for them this year. But I mean, when you have Evan Ingram missed a game, Nate Adkins missed the first couple weeks, Mike Burton is missing the entire season, it's kind of limited them to be a bit more like the few years ago Rams, current day Bengals, where they're just running out in 11 personnel every single time, even though for some reason people are telling me that they're mass swapping out entire legions of players from the sideline to the sideline. I'm like, I don't really think that's happening too much. We might see Sherfield and Mims get swapped out. Yeah, they have 2 backs that rotate, but like, we're not seeing like Caleb Lohner come in or something like that. Like, I don't know, whole separate point. But yeah, been a little bit of a shaky start, but there is still some kernels of optimism to be had. But just to definitely, like you said, it's the fall down effect of being told the entire offseason that this team is a dark horse Super Bowl contender and Bo Nix is going to make a leap to be this elite guy, when it was like, whoa, like let's maybe see a little bit more of this in practice first. I was the defense, I still believe can be one of the best units in the NFL. I know they've had a little bit of struggles against like Justin Herbert dropping back 50 times a game and going Super Saiyan, and the Daniel Jones led Colts offense, which to everyone's surprise is a juggernaut to start the year. But They're still leading the league in sacks. They're one of the better pressure rate teams in the league. I don't think they've necessarily created as many of the explosives on defense as we want to yet, but I am still a believer that can be a top defensive unit by year's end and like maybe the top defensive unit. But as you mentioned, we have 20 clips to go through from the first 3 weeks, a lot, but that's good. There's probably a few I missed. I kind of recognized when I was going through them, I was like, man, I know one big thing people want to talk about is the footwork stuff, him kind of quickly climbing pockets and missing some throws. I think I have a couple clips of that, but regardless, clip number 1, we're going to start with some positives because there are a couple of things that we are seeing growth on. Number 1 being Bo Nix can roll left now. He can roll left now. He can do the thing instead of just every half field read has to be to the other side of the field. We can make some throws on our move to the left. I think the Troy Franklin progression has continued and been really exciting to get to watch this season. And I mean, it's too bad that we haven't gotten to see a bit more of it because I think when the offense is kind of humming, like the few drives we've gotten to see them really do what they want to do, it looks really nice. I've enjoyed kind of some of the wrinkles they're adding into the run game this year. There is a lot more of the gap stuff that we've been wanting. They're using the guards as pullers a lot more. I have enjoyed some of the stuff that we're kind of seeing. It just hasn't had the consistency I think we've wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it really is weird because a lot of the things that are made out about Bo Nix's mechanics this year being, you know, a little inconsistent, not much better than last season. And we look at this, you know, specific aspect of his game, and it's just like, this is probably one of the bigger jumps he's taken from this offseason is rolling left. And like his accuracy these first 3 weeks rolling left has been pretty much perfect. Even on the interception in this game when he was rolling left, the ball was still right there in Sutton. It was just thrown into double coverage. So that's one thing that he's made a huge jump on. And another point for this play is I put out the tweet yesterday, like you mentioned, but this team has only ran 19 snaps, allegedly. I haven't gone through and counted every single snap, but from that one tweet that I saw of that graphic, they've ran 19 snaps and 12 personnel, which is just, for a Sean Payton offense, I think that's almost, you know, borderline malpractice. And within those 19 snaps, they've only seen 40% of base. They see nickel more than they see base when they come out in 12 personnel. That is just the biggest indictment on an offense that you can get in the modern day NFL, that they can put lighter bodies on the field and still survive against a heavier personnel. So, and like, that's where Sean Payton has had the edge on defenses for the past 20 years, is when he gets out into these heavier personnels, when he gets into these shifts, when he gets into these wonky personnel groupings, he can match the defense with base. And when they get in base, he just has a plethora of spaces that he can attack within his passing concepts. And we're seeing it right there. If they can, I mean, it's tough because Adkins was out. Like you said, Burton's out for the year. They just brought up Prentice from the practice squad. So maybe we see a little bit more with Ingram back now this week and Prentice up from the practice squad. But when Sean Payton gets into these heavier personnels, that's his bread and butter. And it's just really weird, the discrepancy between 11 personnel and 12 personnel and the heavier ones so far through 3 weeks.
100%. And it's been kind of a little rough too. I don't want to say an Adam Troutman supporter, but I've always been someone that's like, this is a fine average tight end that you can, you know, have be your kind of all around guy. He's struggled to start the year. He's had a few penalties, I think, in each game. He's really, I think, limited the running game. I will give some credit to the teams they faced, more so the first couple weeks than the Chargers game. Jeffrey Simmons looked incredible in the Titans game. DeForest Buckner was having an incredible game in the Colts game. And then Tyir Tart also had a really good game in the Chargers game. While that's like those guys are good players, it is a little bit frustrating to see Luke Wattenberg. I think we all kind of knew was not going to be a plus on this offensive line, not to take away from him. He had his struggles last year, still a solid player in pass protection, but he has gotten a little bit run over. Ben Powers' issues since the preseason have kind of carried over. He's had a lot of issues in the run game. And then to a little bit of my surprise, Quinn Miners has kind of had not the strongest start to the season. I mean, last week against the Chargers, Tyir Tart was blowing by Quinn Miners. It felt like every single play and getting stops in the backfield where it's so many factors that are kind of limiting this offense on early downs. And like you said, not being able to get a little bit heavier and just force teams to match you with bigger bodies. It's been a huge struggle for this team so far. And yeah, it's disappointing to see when that's how this offense has been built since Sean got here, is we want to be a physical football team that's going to be able to run downhill at you. We've got another one of these 12 personnel snaps. And Lucas Kroll also, you know, for being the best player on the football team, has not necessarily contributed the way you would like him to for being the second or third tight end on this roster.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get into play number, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to agree with you. It really just not at all. And I know this is mostly about offense, but we got some comments here. And this is one thing that's one of the biggest points in Broncos country right now. And I just want to, I don't agree that Riley Moss has been getting cooked every game. I don't. And I see it so much from so many Broncos fans. And this isn't to bash Tiffany, who wrote the comment. Thank you for watching and thank you for commenting. I just don't necessarily agree with this because in this defensive structure, Vance Joseph is a heavy cover one defensive coordinator. He'll come out in the 2 high shell. He'll come out and sometimes just static 1 high. But when he gets into the 2 high and he'll rotate down and play this cover 1, you've got one guy on the side of the field who's the best cornerback probably almost this decade. DPOY last year. He's not going to get targeted. They're on an island in that cover 1 scheme. So whoever is opposite of Patrick Surtain, whether it's Riley Moss, whether it's the worst DB on this roster, they're going to see probably top 10 targets in the entire NFL purely because teams don't want to test Surtain. So with that volume that Riley Moss has had, which he's been the most targeted DB in the NFL this year, and he's only allowed 12 catches. He's allowing a 40% completion percentage. If you told me going into the year that Riley Moss would be the most targeted DB in the NFL, I would have told you that would be a problem. But he has been the most targeted DB, and he's allowing 40% completion percentage. I've only seen one play so far this year where he got athletically beat, and I believe it was Josh Downs on a 40-yard goal ball against the Colts. But the touchdown to Keenan Allen last week in the Chargers game, the big play to Quentin Johnston towards him, he was in perfect position. You cannot ask more, especially on that Keenan Allen touchdown. You get Herbert rolling out left and Keenan Allen is working scramble drill. That is notoriously the toughest job as a DB, to stick with a receiver on a scramble drill in man coverage. And he was right there. His arm was a centimeter from breaking out the ball and, allowing it to be a PBU instead of a touchdown. And sometimes cornerback is the most volatile position in the NFL and probably in all of sports. You can be amazing one game and be terrible the next because that's just how it is. So these plays are sometimes going to break that way. One time it'll be a pass breakup. The next time it'll be a perfect throw and he'll catch it and it'll be a touchdown. But I just don't necessarily believe that Riley Moss has been bad to start the year. Statistically, he's one of the better DBs in the NFL, especially at QB2 or CB2. Again, I mentioned the 12 catches, the 40% completion rate. He's also allowing next-gen stats. Separation metric is kind of wonky sometimes, but if you want to go by that, he's averaging 2 yards of separation on every play. He's one of the better yak defenders. I think he's played really, really well.
And something I want to point out as well, I mean, teams know that, as you mentioned, Vance is playing a ton of cover 1 and just man coverage. Last week against the Chargers, there were so many very well-designed pick routes where it's yeah, man, there's just not a lot you can really do against a lot of teams like this. And people might be like, well, why don't we see Denver do a lot of this? Because teams are only playing zone against Denver right now. I think I saw a stat that they've only faced 17% of man coverage on all of their passing snaps. Teams are kind of daring Bo Nix to find the windows in their zones. And what's a little maddening is, man, Sean Payton has had some beaters dialed up for these plays. And to Bo Nix's credit, he has been able to kind of get them into the correct looks. We'll get into some of these plays later on. They had a quarters beater that was awesome. That was the near miss to Mims in week 2. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's kind of like offensive line where you can pitch 8 innings of shutout, but if you give up that 4th quarter touchdown to Keenan Allen where your hand is just an inch too high or an inch too low, now everyone thinks you're a corner who's getting burnt every week, when in reality, that's just not really the case. Again, there have been big plays given up. I'm not going to argue that he has been flawless, but it is also a little bit funny that it feels like dating back now, 2 or 3 years, every time Riley Moss is giving up one of these completions, he's right there, man. I feel so bad for him, honestly, where it's dude, that was very well played. Sadly, you gave up a 40-yard touchdown, so it sucks. But it's what are you going to do? But yeah, I think honestly the entire defense, Hufanga has been such a fun addition to get to watch. We're all interested to see when Dre Greenlaw gets back. Linebacker play has been rough for the entire team, honestly, for 5 years now. So we'll see how they kind of deal with those issues, but hopefully they'll be able to have some better matchups. And again, I just want to point out, just to close this point, Justin Herbert was very, very good down the stretch last week. It is very hard to beat quarterbacks when they play like that. The play to Quentin Johnston that he beat Riley Moss on, like, that's a pure, like, Quentin Johnston realized his quarterback was in trouble and just ran upfield, and Justin Herbert just made a hell of a throw an inch over our DB's hand. Like, things like that are just going to happen. Sometimes they don't break your way, but I don't think that's any reason to say that he is a bad corner two at all. And, I think that they don't it's not like, I don't know. I will say one thing that's interesting is I do wish we've gotten to see more Jahdae Barron early on. I don't know. The Colts game was kind of rough because they were just getting beaten to death by Jonathan Taylor, but I do wish that they were kind of utilizing their first round pick corner a little bit more. But at the same time, I was also coming into the season being like, I hope they don't just get rid of Jaquan McMillan because he's a really good player and he's still looked like that so far this year. So yeah, defense. We'll talk about the defense at some point, but this is the Bo Nix show. This is probably his best tight window throw of the season so far, which I think is exciting. And he's done this twice now, where on these rollouts, like, it's funny, we talk about the issues within the pocket where he'll kind of overcorrect. He's making the correct decision to maybe step through, but he's being a bit too much with it, where he's kind of stepping himself into pressure. I know on the Hail Mary, he kind of jump throws it onto the back of his center instead of just like setting feet launching. But on these rollout throws, he's actually done a really good job of planting and throwing. There's two separate examples of this throughout. I mean, we'll go through all these clips where that's an exciting thing for me to see, at least, especially because last year, such a big issue for him was beating these free runners on these boot outs. I think that's kind of been a problem on them running their RPO game a little bit as well. I think he's a little hesitant to sometimes throw that quick bubble because in my mind, he's worried he's going to get more batted passes, which that has continued to be an issue this year. Do you have any thoughts on that? The whole batted pass thing? I don't know quarterback mechanics enough to be like, oh, he should be doing this. He shouldn't be doing this, but he led the league last year in batted passes at the line of scrimmage with 16. I think this year he's already at like 5 or 6 through 3 games, which is a lot. And I mean, it's led to either 1 or 2 interceptions already so far this year. Like, is there anything they can really do about this? Or is this just kind of one of those growing pains we have to hope they figure out?
I really just don't have a clue. Like, when you watch them, it's weird. Like, there's nothing that really stands out as to the reason why these things are happening. I mean, the only thing I noticed sometimes last year, which I haven't really, dove deep yet into it, is sometimes he's late on his follow through, so the ball can naturally dip a little bit and can, kind of tilt towards that defensive line. But I mean, that's really the only thing, and that wasn't even that big of an issue when I watched him last year for it to cause that many batted balls. So it's a mystery at this point.
Yeah, it is, and it's frustrating because you can definitely tell. I mean, teams have tape on what the Broncos are trying to do with Bo Nix now. That was very obvious from the Titans game when every time they're running boot action, they're either having their defensive end play just so conservative. He is staying locked in on Nix, or they're just straight up sending nickel pressure at him from the weak side on like every second and long because they're like, we know what you're going to do at this point. This is one of the few things you've shown confidence in him to do. And I know that a lot of people get frustrated whenever people are like, oh, it's this. Clearly with Sean Payton's play calling, he does not necessarily trust Bo to execute all of the things he'd like him to do on offense. Right now, I think it's pretty structured that we're going to have the half-field read levels concepts with the rollouts where we're going to have a flat defender, we're going to have a mid-level defender, and then an ultra high. They trust him to throw the goal balls down the sideline, and then they trust him on the digs. Those are the only throws he has been consistent on throughout, 20 games, 21 games in his career. And that's not saying that none of these other throws can get there, but at this point, it's pretty obvious through just the play calling that those are the only ones they really can reliably get him to throw. On top of that, there's the screens as well, which that is they trust him to throw those. And also teams are blitzing Bo Nix because they know when he gets under pressure, he struggles. So it's a big mixed bag of how do we kind of expand this offense while also making sure we have our quarterback doing the things he's best at. And they have just kind of struggled to find those answers so far early in the year.
Yeah, it's a really big struggle because of the fact that Nix, to this point, just has not been great in these pure dropback concepts. And it hurts because that's such a big staple of Sean Payton's is he'll get these quarterbacks sometimes under center, which is another thing that Nix has really struggled with, which is rough because that's there's a huge influx of under center drop back throughout the league this year, and there's a big correlation in it is, and there's a huge correlation between the top 5 or 6 offenses and under center drop back usage, and that's one thing that they're really missing offensively, and just statistically is they can't get into those concepts because Bo Nix has struggled so much just to be comfortable within them.
I just wanted to nerd out on that for a second. It's been so cool seeing like old school, pure like 3-step from under center drop back game coming back. Like some of the stuff Stafford, I mean, every single year McVay is doing something where it's like, ooh, but that's been the thing this year for me where I'm like, nice, dude, that is sick. Like that's like the football I grew up watching. Let's just watch, get back to your 5 and just hit the out route. Like stuff like that is sweet. This clip I only threw in because I wanted an example of, well, there are a few things about this clip. Sean Payton, again, dialing up some really cool beaters. This one is an example where I have 3 examples of this. I think there are going to be times this season, and this isn't me trying to blame a lot of stuff on Bo, where Bo is going to need to try to push the issue a little bit more on some of these. This one's kind of weird to say it on. Denver's running a really good cover 2 beater here. And I think there are times where we need Nix to be a little bit more willing to mainly I'm thinking either the Sherfield or Sutton routes that we've got kind of breaking open here. Maybe not breaking open, but there's so many times where you'll see, I don't even know how to get my mouse to pop up, this safety, or there's the example where the corner falls off on a later play, but that one's a bit more on Mims, where I just don't think defenders are respecting enough the fact that Nix will rip some of these throws. At least that's kind of how I see it. I see a lot where this defender or one of these high defenders will break down on these lower routes because I just don't think they believe that he's going to make a lot of these attempts even. So this was just a first example where I would kind of love to see him maybe challenge a little bit more of these windows. Again, we're drawing up a nice little, like, we've got the outbreak under Sherfield. We can see from the end zone angle. I'm pretty sure like the progression, and maybe you can feel completely different about this. I'm not sure. They've done some weird dropbacks this year where it's like the roll out, but then it almost looks like the first read is across the field entirely. I don't know if that's necessarily like, I don't know if Bidet is the first read here. In my mind, you'd probably go Sherfield, Sutton, and then you'd want to work this backside throw because you'd want to probably hold the safety more on Sutton. I don't know. But it was just one thing when I was watching it that I was like, man, I feel like sometimes we're a little quick to not throw. I don't want to say the risky throws, but the ones that might be a 50-50 to just like purely trying to limit ourselves to I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, but if you know what I mean, I wish you would push the ball a little bit more on some of these concepts where we have the zone beater open. And I think you need to show these early in the year to have teams play more disciplined on them. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And we saw it a little bit last year. I mean, there was some of the throws that he was making down the stretch in that winning streak that were a perfect example of what you're talking about now. And I think this play was a good example of that because they have that 3-level stretch on the field to the strong side. And that safety that was covering over Sutton, he's playing 2 routes. So there's a window to kind of lead that ball upfield before that safety on the strong side or the weak side of the field can kind of close on it. But those are throws that we just, haven't seen consistently to this point in his career. Not to say that they won't come at all, but to this point, it just really hasn't been there. And there was a good example. I think it was the last preseason game or something that I tweeted out. And some of these throws and some of these yards are just being cleanly left off the table.
Yeah. No, and I think it's a good example, too, of there have been times like his progression game is weird because he's very quick to either go one. It's funny because, I mean, Bidet isn't the check down here, but this almost is kind of one of the examples where he's just working like 1 to last read very fast. I think sometimes he can struggle to go 1, 2, 3. I think sometimes it's 1, 2, 3. And you need to be able to hang on some of these more, especially when you get the pass blocking he gets, to be willing to work some of these concepts. It very much limits your offense, especially with the fact that I think teams kind of know, well, most of the time his first read is probably Cortland Sutton. So if we take that guy away, he's probably going to be pretty hesitant to throw to some of these other guys. Marvin Mims has, in my opinion, as a receiver, not shown my favorite things this year. We'll get to it later. There are a few reps where just like he is fast, but man, does he really struggle to get in and out of his breaks at times I really do question if we'll ever see him be that true, like, complementary receiver next to Cortland Sutton. I think that's why we're seeing so much more Troy Franklin usage this year because the Troy Franklin thing is real. Like, he is an actual wide receiver that can contribute on this offense. Not that Marvin Mims isn't, but I don't think you can consistently rely on Marvin Mims to get as open as you'd like to, especially in one-on-one coverage, which is just kind of weird for the player he is. But yeah, we're 25 minutes in. We've only been through 2 plays. Haha. All right, let's get to play number 3. I didn't label these at all, so that's fun. So we just get to watch them, and then I'll be like, oh, yeah, it's that one. Another one of these happened. Oh, this was the interception. So this is a good example. This one I was more upset about when I first watched it than when I said it. You take us through this one. Take us through what you see on this play.
Yeah, it's just another rollout that they've been running. Just a 3-level flood. You've got the flat, you've got the crosser, and you've got the high pylon route. Sutton runs this, it's designed to be a flatter route, and Nix's throw kind of leads it up towards that safety. There's space towards that sideline. That safety is going to close on it either way. So that safety has a 2-level read. He can take the deep one, or he can come down and cut off that crosser. Nix has to read that and act accordingly, but you also have that underneath off ball who's dropping with enough depth to get underneath that crosser to Sutton. He probably should have just taken the flat here and got whatever 1 or 2 yards that he could have, or tried to run here. But the throw let him upfield just a tad too much, and it ended up playing right into the safety. And the safety made a really good play on the ball. I mean, Sutton's hands were right on that, and the safety just took it completely away. These are things, kind of plagued him last year on some of these 3-level boots, where there were times where he would take the check down too quick, or he would be too late to come back down to it, and he would try to force something, which is always the issue when you run these 3-level boots.
No, I completely agree. And this was one, Patrick pointed this out to us, Patrick Chiotti, for anyone wondering. Great follow if you're not following him on Twitter. Marvin Mims does kind of give up on this route a little bit once he kind of reaches like I don't know what it is, like the 42, 40. You can kind of see him just kind of like ease off. It's kind of up for debate. Does this safety see Sutton coming across the middle and that makes him be like, oh, let me just bait this? Or does he see Marvin Mims kind of a little bit slow up on his route and he says, okay, I don't need to worry about this anymore. I can come down. Up for debate. But regardless, it is kind of one of those, like you said, throws where you can see if he just flattens him out towards the sideline, I think there is probably a better chance that you're at least giving your guy a better shot, because just this DB doesn't have to move, whereas Sutton has to work his way upfield. This is a very tough play for a receiver to make. I know, don't get me wrong. You want Courtland Sutton to win 50-50 balls, but this is such an awkward 50-50 ball to really give your guy a chance at that I'm not sure. But yeah, the Marvin Mims slowing up on this route was definitely something that, like, after you watch a few times, I'm like, oh man, like that does kind of happen. Like you can see him kind of lazily listing his arms as opposed to just, you got to hold that defender, man. Like you have to really threaten that, like, oh man, they might throw this 60-yard pass deep. I need to stay with him, because then this is wide open if this guy isn't able to swing around on this ball. But that's just not the way it goes. We get the first interception of Nix's season, which all interceptions aren't created equal. This one's probably not the most egregious of interceptions. I'm not mad that he put the ball in that spot. I think that is honestly the correct read for what the play is asking for. I mean, he had the window technically for like half a second, but still not necessarily your favorite thing to see. I can't remember what the down and distance was for this one too, but also, like you said, good play by the defender, which always gets kind of ignored by, really any fan base. Anytime something happens, it has to be someone's fault, not, oh, the other team made a good play,
Yeah, exactly.
What have you thought about Tyler Baday's usage early in the season?
I don't like it. I mean, Tyler Baday is a good player. I'm not trying to knock him as a player. I just think that the usage isn't unique enough to his archetype to explain the fact that he's getting those chances over Harvey. So these kinds of plays that they're calling for him, he's getting these screens, he's getting these routes out of the backfield. We know Harvey can make, and we've seen him make them in the limited amount of time he's had on Denver so far. He had a really nice Texas route. I think it was against Indianapolis. Give him those chances. He's better in the open field than Baday. I just don't agree with the Baday usage so far. I like the way they're doing it schematically. I just don't love the guy who's running it.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Like, man, if Baday's watching this, I'm sorry. That sounded like the most harshest indictment I've ever had on a player.
But I mean, I think it's kind of fair. Like, I mean, you did draft this guy in the second round, to like the whole thing was he's going to add this explosive element to your offense. I think, I'm someone who we're the pass blocking guys. We're the running back pass blocking guys. Shout out Javonte Williams having a bit of a bounce back year for himself. I'm fine seeing it. I don't mind it too much. But even with that element of it, it's like I'm not seeing. Last year, people were like, "Why is Javonte on the field?" And I'd be able to post 3 clips a week where it's like, "Oh, well, he just flattened a guy running through the A gap, so I get why he's on the field." I'm not seeing that with Tyler Bidet. You know, it's not like we're watching him put up these immaculate pass blocking reps where I'm like, "Oh, you can't. There's no reason to take this guy off. He's doing more than meets the eye." And it's one of those things where I do wonder. Mike Burton was a guy who over the past couple of years they've used in that third down role as a pass protector, and he's pretty good at it, honestly. And he can run, like, teams kind of ignore him because he's the 32-year-old fullback on the offense, but like he can get you those check down 4-yard routes if you need them to. That I've wondered the entire year if not having Mike Burton has really like caused that to happen. Like if Mike Burton were healthy in the multiverse where Mike Burton is healthy, are we seeing maybe Blake Watson or Jaleel over Bidet just because they don't think that they need that extra pass protector? I don't know, but that's where my mind has gone a little bit with it. I agree. It's weird usage. Part of me kind of gets it, but part of me also just wants to be like, Sean, can you just use the young players? Like you've given Pat Bryant like 20 snaps and they're all slants. I get it. You want to ease these guys into the offense. I know Pat Bryant can run more than a goddamn slant route. Just let him do it. We need the help out here, man. Like, but yeah, so a little bit of weird usage so far, I think, from some of the young players, which is come to be expected from Sean Payton, but it's also kind of like, well, then maybe you shouldn't bank on your quarterback becoming an elite player with multiple young pieces on your offense that you need to, get going into the offense. Even Evan Ingram, it seems like he's kind of really taking his time, kind of getting him worked into the offense. And it's like, man, like, I'm not going to be upset about it until a little bit more down the line, but it's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, I feel like, by intentionally giving yourself worse options earlier in the year and not letting your guys figure out their mistakes or build that chemistry. Because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, it's not like we're getting that much more by giving those snaps to a Trent Sherfield or a Tyler Bidet. Like the benefit doesn't really outweigh the risk. That makes sense? Yeah. So yeah, I completely agree. Let's get into this next play here. Cortland Sutton, double move guy this season. It's run like 6. I love that.
This was a really good ball, too.
Yeah. No, we get a little condensed verticals look. Well, they're not really too tight on this side, but I like this. Just having like the 2 out and ups. Just having 2 seam runners hold the safeties. They play in quarters.
I didn't even notice this watching it at first. Mims was so distraught that Nix didn't take him on that one. He looked away and put his hands up as Sutton caught the ball for the touchdown. I never even noticed that.
Mims has had some moments where he is just there because the play this last year was mesh. It was goddamn it, Bo is not reading out mesh. This year it's Hank, which for anyone who doesn't know, Hank is where you have the 2 outside curl routes, and then you have your tight end kind of run like a slanted curl route. And the idea is you have the hook defender between the outside curl and that slanted curl route kind of make a decision. And your quarterback has to throw based on that decision. Nix does not ever want to throw that outside curl route. No offense to Bo, but like there are times where I'm like, maybe you like just try it, man. Because like if there's one thing that I'll have my complaints about Mims in and out of his breaks, Mims can start and stop. So like when him and Sutton are both very good at getting, I mean, we've talked about this with Sutton for years, getting vertical and then breaking off for Sutton is just a cheat code. So being able to have 2 guys on your offense that are pretty damn good at that, they've run it out of multiple different formations. Like they're really trying to get these Hank routes to work, and it just has not happened yet. I think they had one successful one, but it was still just like he hit the slanted curl to Ingram over the middle for like 7 yards, and it was like, cool. Can we ever see you throw the outside curl? Those have been the reactions I've seen out of Mims, and yeah, all year he has been a little bit like, man, can I just please get the ball on some of these outside routes? And it is, it's a little frustrating for me because then there are other routes, kind of as we saw in that last interception, where I want to be like, hey man, put an effort on all your routes. Like I'm not trying to say that, oh, there are some plays where you're giving up, but like you can kind of feel it where it's like it does seem where early in his career, Mims was kind of the decoy guy that would kind of draw this coverage deep. You still got to be that guy, even if we're expanding your role to be more of a true you're going to get us yards guy, you still need to be the decoy guy for us, sadly, because they just don't have other players that can do it. Troy can kind of do it, but Mims is so much better at just truly blowing the top off the defense. So he's got to kind of, I think, figure it out a little bit. I think he's having a little bit of a in his own head type of thing where he's frustrated when he's not getting the ball, which is leading to him then not trying super hard on these other routes, which is then just an avalanche effect on the entire offense where these execution issues are just leading to trouble.
I agree.
Yeah. Next play. This one was weird as hell. And this was another one. So this was another example where I want to say, Nix, I want to see you throw the super high route. Like this was one to Sutton where I was a little bit annoyed where it's like, man, teams are going to start seeing that they're just going to sit on these underneath routes. They're going to start doing it. And like, yeah, he kind of lets the ball go early, but like before he lets this go, like give Sutton a chance back here. Let's see what we got. I understand what you're trying to do here, but teams are just getting too good. And also this was another Jeffrey Simmons God mode rep where he works through two blockers. I don't know, man. We got to threaten defenses a little bit more vertically or they're going to keep sitting on these mid-level routes and taking away the football. That was at least how I felt watching this one. Also, he obviously takes a shot, but I don't know if you see something different, but that's how I felt a little bit on a lot of these level concepts where he's willing to hit the flat or the mid. We need to see him be willing to attack this part of the field, even if it doesn't work out perfectly every time. Defenses need to know that you're at least willing to throw it, or like I said, they're just going to keep jumping these underneaths. They're going to keep turning off because they are not worried that you're going to even attack this part of the field unless it's Cortland Sutton running a 9 route on the sideline.
I completely agree. And it's something that I've talked about so much with Nix is just he doesn't always not understand. I don't want to knock his intelligence because I'm not in the room with them, but he doesn't always throw with leverage within the passing concept. Like even on this play right here, again, it's another 2-level flood. And they're just in spot drop cover 3. And Nix is reading that side of the field. And you can literally see that corner passing Sutton off to the high safety, who just already, based off of leverage, that safety is not in a position to get all the way towards Sutton and make a play on that ball. You can see the corner passing him off and dropping his hips to come down to Sutton. Granted, it was a little bit when he started his throwing motion, but you can see him passing him off and coming down to the to break off and underneath that crosser. You have to read that and just put the ball in a place where that safety can't make a play on it and he can't get all the way over, and put it in a place where Sutton is the only guy who can get a shot at that. And I know he took a shot on this play. This wasn't necessarily the best pocket for him to try and do that, but this play is just kind of like an example and a catalyst for so many problems that we've seen on similar concepts where the same kind of thing happened and the same concept shook out this way and he didn't take that higher route like you were saying. It's just sometimes he'll throw what's open and he'll throw what's a defined read, but it doesn't always throw with leverage.
No, I completely agree. The drop back on this one was also really weird. Like watching this, I was kind of confused because you'd think if you're going to do like kind of this half roll this way, you'd have more options on this side. This whole play kind of confused me a little bit because I didn't really know what we're looking to try to get here. You don't have anything breaking open on this side, but exactly like you said, you've got to be able to read the leverage. This corner is straight up pointing at the safety, telling him to pick him up. You can't really see. This safety's hips are towards this sideline. He is not. He has to completely flip and burn, which he still hasn't flipped. Here he finally flips. There is no chance he's getting back here, man. And I know, again, Nix is already loading up, whatever. But even so, this is not a good throw regardless of, if this is just now when you're loading up. You need to be able to threaten these defenses more downfield or they are just not going to respect you, and these corners are going to try to jump these routes every single time. And this was just another example of it. Probably the most egregious example we had so far throughout the season. But yeah, very similar to that, the miss throw in the end zone to Bidet, where it's like, man, you've got the leverage on the safety. You're only having to read really one guy, and it seems like you're not even really looking at that guy.
I just realized I was muted. Another point on this play that doesn't really get talked about is so many times when we see teams kind of just almost spam these similar concepts is because they're setting up something later on in the season on a big money down. And if you aren't stressing the defense with those higher level throws, that double move and that constraint play that they're looking to call later down the road isn't going to work as well because they're already going to be in position over top because they don't think you're going to throw it. So we saw on the touchdown to Mims last season, the Bengals throw. That was one of those constraint plays where he took off and he broke that route later on down the field, and Nix was able to put it down the field for him. Those plays, you can't get to those plays if you aren't operating the right way earlier on in the season.
Yeah. Now we're on to the Colts game where the offense was better, but there were still some gripes to be had. This is a good example, and I think this game was the best example of it. Nix's control at the line of scrimmage is a lot better this year. He is clearly getting the offense into the right calls. I think he is being given 2 calls most of the time, it seems like, when he walks up to the line of scrimmage. And that's, again, where it's really tough. Like, I'm not out at all on Nix because I do think that there have been areas of growth. Like, I do think his play on the field might not show a super great understanding of what the offense is trying to do. I do think he's probably great on the whiteboard. Like, that's the one thing that I've gone away. I'm like, oh man, I think if you were to have Sean and Bo sit down together and explain what they're trying to do on each play, he could probably do that pretty well. Because I think his eyes, even though he might skip progressions sometimes, which frustrates me, are more often than not in the right spot. Like, they go to the right place most of the time. At least maybe you see differently, but that's how I felt early in the year. It seems like he's getting them into the right look. It seems like has an idea of where he should be going with the ball. Sometimes he can be hesitant to put it there, but I think this was a good example. I can't remember exactly what they go into here. Oh no, this was the one where he IDs the nickel who, like, this nickel barely moves and he sees it. And it's, again, one of those examples where it's like, man, like, you clearly see the field decently. Where on that last play, you have a corner literally begging a safety to come help him, and then you don't make the throw. Whatever. But this was a good play to pick up. Slides the protection to the right. I can't remember exactly what they ran here. I think this was the bullet slant to Pat Bryant. Yeah,
this was a little pirate concept. This was, man, these are the plays that, made me kind of almost fall in love with Nix in the college process, was because of how well he was getting the offense into the right looks, and it's translated so far now into the second season. Obviously, yes, Sean Payton was giving Bo Nix kill packages in the first season, but it didn't seem like he was coming up to the line and getting the offense into that second play as often as he's doing this year. And this is another point. Everybody talks about the running back usage, the run game usage, whether who's on the field or not. A lot of that is because when Sean Payton calls these plays, he will give Nix 2 of them. The first one will be a run play, and if they don't have the numbers in the box, Nix will check to that pass play. So a lot of the times when there's these arguments about the running and pass split usage and discrepancy is because that Bo Nix is checking out of that run play because they don't have the numbers. And they're not going to have the numbers more often than not because they can't stress the defense enough in the passing game, and they've been so bad at it to this point. These defenses are just going to load the box. That's even the Chargers, who Jesse Minter is a mostly too high defense, loaded the box, and they couldn't get anything on the ground and forced Bo Nix to beat them in the passing game. And that's just going to continue to go on throughout the season until Nix can show, hey, I can make these throws. I can stand in here, and I can force you to put a body over top, and that'll open up the run game even more than just calling 10 more runs a game that are going for 2, 3, sometimes 4. That'll hurt the offense more than anything else. And it's just a really big point. And to kind of circle back and bring it back to the original point, Nix has just been so good, even in just setting the offense's protections. And that's the reason why some of these times calls are getting in late, because Sean Payton is calling 2 of them. But Nix is also getting to the line and calling these protections out so often and getting the offense into that second play and the kill packages. Right here was probably I'm going to sound like such a dork saying this because it's just like a 5-6 yard throw, but this is probably my favorite Nix play of the season because of how well and how prepared he was on this. Like you said, that nickel barely moved at all, and he was capping that receiver. So Nix immediately knew that he had to slide the protection, assumably because he saw it all week in prep and all week on film. And he slid the protection. He got it picked up. They ended up backing out of it, and he hit Franklin on that short levels route. So plays like this, they're encouraging, but they also bring up a kind of they also bring up like a kind of point that's a kind of discouraging and kind of scary going on later on into the year as they progress.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think this is an example where we just talked about how he doesn't always read the leverage of defenders super well. It's weird because on his college tape, sometimes it was a really big strength. I think down towards the red zone, he did a really good job of like reading out linebackers and being able to find his tight ends. Here he does a really good job. Lou's doing something weird. He's sim pressuring. We've got Kwity Paye dropping out, and he's got his back to this defender. If you got a back to a defender, that's an open receiver. Get the open Pat Bryant underneath, and Pat Bryant is able to convert for the first down. Running a slant route, of course. But yeah, that one was pretty exciting. What do we got here then? Oh, this is just the Mims. Poor Xavier Howard. I would like, how old is Xavier Howard at this point? I don't even know. Like, and that's no offense to Xavier Howard. Really fun player. I loved when he was on the Dolphins. Who was the other corner they had on that team? Was that when Jalen Ramsey was there too? Doesn't matter.
That was Ramsey. There was I know who you're talking about.
Fun cornerback.
Byron Jones?
I think that was when Flores was there too. Who'd you say?
Byron Jones?
I think it was Byron Jones. Yeah. 42-inch vertical man himself. Yeah, that was a fun defense to get to watch. But there are some plays in this one specifically where it was like, oh, man, you're really trying to – and this is a good example of how much – I think this is Sutton, yeah. Sutton draws so much attention because, as I said earlier, I think teams know he is by far Nix's most trusted target. And you can see here, like, this is – I mean, I don't think this is quarter. No, they're just running straight up like cover one. But like, look at where this safety is. Like, this safety is like, oh shit, Sun's running deep. I got to get over here. And then we just got Marvin Mims with an entire area code back here to work with. And sure enough, we get Bo with a very nice vertical throw. He's done a pretty nice job on these sideline balls throughout his career, outside of, the miss on like the out and up to Sutton to end the game 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago now. But yeah, good throw. Way to score a touchdown. Get on to the next one. We're already 46 minutes in. I'm going to start picking it up a little bit. That's my bad. Here's a Hank concept, I think. Nope, this is just curl flats. Well, no, this is just curl flats. But this was another one where I thought to myself, man, like, this was one I thought Mims is maybe a little frustrated. Maybe you could argue this linebacker can get into this window. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know if you feel any differently, but there have been a few examples of this year where you hit the top of your drop. I think there is a design in mind to kind of get it out to one of these guys, and we just don't. Luckily, this is the scramble drill play where Troy Franklin makes a big play down the field, and we get another rolling left Bo Nix bomb, which this play was pretty fun.
It ended up being a really fun play, and it was probably it's so nice to see Troy Franklin kind of develop into this kind of player now. But to your point, this goes back to what you were saying earlier on some of these Hank and curl flat concepts where he's just not trusting what he sees, and he ends up working weak or strong side, but that backside, that backer comes down to take that running back. And I think it's Sutton who's just like, there's nobody underneath him on that curl route. And that ball, that's where that ball should go. As soon as Nix reads that strong side backer is kind of underneath that Mims curl, he has to work back to the Sutton curl, which, there's a little bit of interior pressure and he can't really get backside and he ends up rolling out. And Franklin does just such a great job at working scramble drill. So it doesn't really matter results wise, but process wise, I think going on towards the end of the season and as they progress through the season, you'll like him to read this out a little bit more and get to the open guy.
Right. And just hit these because these are the ones where down to down, like this will help them so much more. This is why we're seeing more of the offense stalling. Yes, they will be able to get the explosives. I'm really not worried about them being able to find explosives this year. Even with the misses last week, they are able to find big plays. That is not a huge concern of mine. But you need to be down to down, able to convert first downs. I mean, what was it? The Chargers game, they had like 23 first downs, and then Denver had like 9. Like, you can't win football games like that. It makes it so hard on both sides of the ball. Your defense is going to be exhausted. Your offense is not able to, like, when people talk about the rhythm thing, that has so much more to do with it than the personnel changes or the arguments you want to make. Not being able to stay on the field for more than 3 snaps is the problem. It's really not so much of we brought in J.K. Dobbins for a snap. We brought in an extra tight end on second down because it's 2nd and 8, and we'd like to be able to make it a 3rd and short. That's not the problem. The problem is when we get these, these quick game concepts, when we get some of these underneath concepts, we're not as willing to work them to keep the chains moving. Outside of, they have had a decent bit of success running their outside just some quick outs. Their quick out game has been pretty solid this year with Courtland Sutton. This one, I just like the design. I like how they use Troy Franklin as like fake insert blocker and then move him to the flat. For some reason, when I watched it the first time, I thought they literally had Troy Franklin in the backfield as a fullback, and I was like, ooh. But that isn't what ended up happening. But either way, a really fun design here from Sean Payton for a wide open red zone touchdown.
He had another one, which was, I'm sure it's in here, which is a filthy design on the goal line.
The 22, and it's right here. If this is the one you're talking
there
about,
it
where
is.
they go from under center. I was shocked the Colts didn't call a timeout because their defense is just discombobulated as hell. Like I don't know what they're thinking here. They try to pick up just gross. Good for. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I know I am subscribed to Sean Payton this year. The way he draws it up is still too fun for me to complain about. I'm sorry. Like the dude does some fun stuff. They do not have weaponry, and he is still like, all right, like let's see what we can do here. Like this is sick. We're going from like, all right, we're under center. We have an extra. Palczewski's in the game. We have a fullback in. We have Lucas Krull standing up. They don't have a receiver in the game. And then they go to a gun set with their fullback as the lone protector. They run a fake pick route with Harvey, and then they just free release Traub into the end zone. That's sick. That's awesome. That's so fun, and I'm so glad that like they have a play caller that like Krull knows before this even happens. He's like, just so hyped. He's like, nice, got him. So, yeah, had to leave this one in here because, come on now. This is just fun stuff right here.
This was, it's disgusting. And it's also going to set up a Harvey screen touchdown on the goal line sometime soon in the next few weeks because they're going to have that in the back of their mind. And Harvey's just going to walk in for a touchdown. For his first touchdown. He doesn't have a touchdown yet, right? It's all Dobbins?
Think so. It's been Dobbins.
So that's my prediction.
Dobbins has been good.
Dobbins
has been
so
very
fucking good.
Like, the fall forward gene in that guy is fantastic, and it's so
so good.
I will say, it's very funny watching them finally be like, "Oh, we can just run gap stuff." And then I'm looking at Javonte Williams in Dallas, and they're doing the same thing with him. And we're like, "We've been saying this for years, man. You built the offensive line to do this. You have a back that can like really only do this, and you're making him run fucking wide zone like 15 times a game. Just push him up the middle. Just literally let him go straight. Let him like grab Quinn Miner's hip and just follow him. Whatever." Exciting that they finally got to it this year, and I've been very pleased with J.K. Dobbins. Has been awesome to watch. I hope he gets to stay healthy for the entire season. Here's the Texas route. We've been begging for this for 2 years now.
There it is.
And this was an interesting thing going back and watching. They've done a really good job. The motion thing is so weird to me because when I watched, like, they do a lot of identifying motion. Like, they'll motion a guy into the backfield. They'll, motion around receivers so they can get man zone tells. Here they get a good zone tell, so Nix knows, okay, if these linebackers bail a little bit, I can just have the Texas route wide open underneath. They've done a pretty good job with that stuff that I do wonder if those numbers are different than the motion at snap numbers. I don't know. Because I do feel like I see that a good bit. And again, Nix is doing a good job of recognizing, like, okay, no one moved with this corner. He came over this receiver. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They're probably running quarters, or they're just running some cover 2. Wait, what is this? All right, we're just running some cover. I don't even know what the fuck we're doing here.
It's like
anyway,
buzz.
Thank you. And then we just got, good sync by Zaire Franklin. So we got RJ Harvey and open underneath. This is the stuff where I'm like, nice. You are starting to kind of recognize what are we trying to do mixed with what is the defense trying to do, and it's leading to positive gains. So cool thing here. And RJ Harvey, they finally have a back that can run a Texas route. Sweet. The choice routes are coming.
I was just about to say that.
Troy Franklin's been getting a couple of those. And we saw Evan Ingram get one, but Evan Ingram didn't get too open on it. This was another one I liked where, is this the dig throw to Sutton? No, this was the missed out route, which was too bad because these were throws that we saw last year a couple times and we were really excited about. I don't know. This one, like, not too much to write home about. Got to put the ball more outside. There's a few things here I always want. Maybe there's a chance that, I don't know. Just got to put this ball more outside. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's really the only thing. And this play, it's funny because this is like a carbon copy of that Bucs throw last year to Sutton on that out route, which was one of my favorite throws Nix made all year. And this time it's just a little bit too inside. And again, I don't know who that is covering Sutton, but how quick he was to flip his hips and get in position, even if it was a bad ball, was just crazy. Human beings aren't supposed to move like that.
I want to say, dude, Jesse Minter had that Chargers defense juiced up. Like, they played really well. Like, it was their secondary was covering everything. They were passing things off incredibly well. Again, guys like Tyre Tart and Tuapolo Latu, that was a complete guess at his last name. They were playing out of their minds. Like, I mean, so, and we've talked about it for a couple of years now. It's a big talking point. Denver has a good offensive line, especially in pass protection. They're usually like around like 20, maybe sub 20 pressure rate given up team, which helps Bo Nix quite a bit. Against the Chargers got 44% pressure rate. That is a lot. That is a lot, especially when you consider they did not have Khalil Mack. They don't necessarily have like their interior defensive line is much more like lane cloggers, I'd say, when you have guys like Tyre Tart, Jamari Caldwell, guy I loved in the pre-draft process. They had another guy like Enigboge or something like that. They had a lot of guys that were disrupting the hell out of the run game, but then they were also getting pressure. And yeah, their secondary is playing very well for a kind of a group of like, I think that's Benjamin St. Just. I know Tony Jefferson's in the secondary, which all respect to Tony Jefferson. Tony Jefferson's been in the league since I was like 18. So like that guy still like which he got, I will say there were a couple where he's flat-footed and like a fantastic veteran. He's like, yeah, I'm not even gonna try to catch back up to that one. Like there's no point. I got it. I got beaten. Whatever. Move on to the next play. Completely respect that. But yeah, this is just one where you got to make this throw. This is a good route by Sutton as well. I mean, out route king, footwork god, Jerry Jeudy disciple. Yeah, and I also like the design here. The motion Harvey out. Derwin James had an incredible game, but this is a really good design to kind of hold him, the flat defender or the hook defender, whatever he's playing, and get this open look to Sutton. I think this is on third down too, but sadly you just don't connect. Got to hit those next time. Next play.
Oh. This game was so rough. Like this was definitely his worst game of the year. It was worse than Tennessee for me.
Yeah. Because there were so many opportunities. I mean, he even acknowledged it, as people have probably seen the viral clip, like on the sideline, where it's like, man, again, we can talk about how well Jesse Minter's defense was coached. Sean Payton had the beaters for that guy. Like Sean Payton knew, like, okay, you want to run cover 2 invert? We got you. You want him 1/4? We got you. Like it was pretty fun to get to watch like that back and forth. Here's another really fun, just like snag dig concept underneath. The first dig I think we've seen completed to Sutton by Nix this year, which was a staple of the offense last year. So hopefully we get more of them to be the big plays. God damn it, Cortland Sutton, can you just get yak one time in your life? But yeah, big completion here, good pass protection pickup. And we get a little first down action. Good throw over the head of Henley. Good eyes. Bang. And I think that's so frustrating with the whole footwork thing, a little tangent. It's so frustrating because we've talked about this. Nix has plenty of arm. When he sets his base and throws, dude, you're good. You do not need to do this like is this the Hail Mary or the flea flicker? This is the flea flicker. It was so frustrating to me because, man, you just don't, I think, need to do all the extra shenanigans here on, honestly, you have 2 wide open guys in the end zone. I know you want to make kind of like the perfect throw here, but like just don't go outside of yourself, man. Like set your feet, throw the goddamn ball. Even if it ends up being like, oh man, I wasn't able to hit this perfect 63-yard touchdown bomb. Maybe Mims has to slow up just a bit and he catches it at the 20, the 22 right here. That's fine. That is completely fine. No one is going to be mad about a 50-yard gain as opposed to like the 63-yard like perfect throw touchdown. Sometimes it just, again, it feels like Nix is really trying to do just too much with his body work, and he just doesn't have to. Here was also what kind of worried me about this play. Like, not worried me, but dude, he straight up like takes down Wattenberg. Like, this is not the type of play you want to see from a quarterback that like should be protecting himself and his offensive line. Like, man, like that's a little bit of a risky maneuver right there. And even you did all this extra stuff, didn't even work out, So Frustrating miss here. Are you one of the people that considers this a drop for Marvin Mims?
No, hell no. I mean,
Dude,
first of all, look at the pocket that he ran up and did a jump throw in. This is a flea flicker where, you're going to get some interior pressure on some of those just because of the nature and the specifics of the blocking rules. But Nix has a perfect pocket here, and he just lightning McQueen's himself into the back of Wattenberg's legs. Like, you don't need to do that. You can stand firm and just deliver the throw. I would be much more comfortable. Obviously, both results suck, but I would be much more comfortable with him standing tall and missing the throw as compared to him running full speed forward to jump throw it and missing it. Like, these things, this isn't, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too down on it, but it's just plagued him so far.
And it's one of those things that, this is the big talking point, but it's like he's started so many football games in his career. Seeing some of these things continue to pop up at start, again, NFL starts versus college starts much different. But for things like this that are just more how you're wired, I'd say, mechanically, it's harder to work these things out once you get to start 80 in his career, which we have to remember that this is like not NFL start, but like when you combine college and NFL, this is his like 85th start. You can't still be doing stuff like, because he had 63 college starts. This is his 21st NFL game. Brother, some of these things we got to be ironing out soon, very soon, because at a certain point, it's like these are just ironed in bad habits. And if we're going to be having these consistently pop up, it's hard to win football games like this. And now we get more Sean Payton awesomeness. Also, I wanted to shout out on this call. It was a 3rd and 19. I love the fact that they ran like a fake draw flea flicker concept. This is sick. I was so hyped when I was like, because when I went back and watched the film and saw it was 3rd and 19, I was like, oh, that's kind of ballsy. And then I saw how they did it. And I was like, why did the safeties bite so deep? And I'm like, oh, yeah, because it's 3rd and 19. And most teams probably don't think Sean Payton trusts Bo Nix. So they wouldn't be shocked that they're just running a draw to try to get in a little better field position and maybe they'll catch you. And then, boom, they rip one right over the top, but Bo Nix jumps onto the back of his center and misses. Beautiful play. This is the one where Tony Jefferson clearly is just like, yeah, you got me. And I respect it. But no, awesome design. You get the unbalanced look. They ran stuff like this last year too. Like I remember the same side toss plays that they ran. I want to say in the KC game they ran something like this, but very cool design. Another one of these half rollouts, and yeah, just wide open Cortland Sutton. Awesomeness. Walking to the end zone.
This is on what, a 4th and 1 too?
This is 4th and 2, yeah. After a good Knicks scramble, I will say. Like, Knicks got them into position to be able to have a play like this happen. This is right before halftime hits. And, yeah, well blocked up. And you just get a wide-open Cortland Sutton streaking behind the defense. Right into the end zone. Sick.
That was nice. The rest of the game, not so much.
Not so much. Here, we get another change at the line. Which one? Oh, this is the quarters beater. Yeah, I really liked this one. Another one where it's just like, you go.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Knicks, not just Knicks, but the offense as a whole, they'll take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Like Knicks gets up to the line, he diagnoses the coverage, he sees that there's the too high. He knows just from watching film that Minter's going to get them into this quarters call. He checks to the coverage beater. This isn't a kill package, by the way. This is not a kill package. This is a pure, empty check that he read and got the offense into. Sean Payton did not call this as the second play in the call. This is purely just Nick seeing the defense and checking to something else while in empty. So you take that step forward, but then you miss a wide open guy and you take those 2 steps back. And these things just hurt so much. On one hand, it's encouraging and it's really nice to see that Knicks has the command to get the offense into these kinds of looks, but you got to actually execute and you got to get the play on the field.
Yeah, man. It's tough because it's one of those where I want to say, oh, this offense feels so close, because it does. It really does feel like if they could just connect on 20% more of these, which sounds like a lot, but just, a smidge better. They're probably going to, chunk their way up like the offensive ranking charts. Obviously, the consistency stuff from down to down will help a lot more too. But man, what a great call. Like you said, it was so cool seeing Nix get into this. This one's kind of like, this one's on, there's so many things happening on this one. Luke Wattenberg gets absolutely blasted on this stunt. I think this is the D tag I was talking about. And then you get Nix kind of like rushing a throw, kind of getting hit as he throws it. The safety just barely bumps Marvin. Like Mims is running straight, gets just barely pushed like half a yard outside. So then he has to work back inside. The ball is probably like a yard out of his reach. Like so many little things making this play just, so close to being incredible, but don't happen. But again, end of the day, it's going to come down to your quarterback needs to make your offense right. And there's a lot of people right now that are being like, people got to help your young QB. And I completely agree. But at the end of the day, to be able to go far in this league, your quarterback needs to make your offense right. Justin Herbert against Denver made his offense right. It did not matter how much pressure Denver was getting. It did not matter how good of coverage Riley Moss is playing. Yep, brought it back up. He is going to make the offense work because he is that level of quarterback. And I'm not saying that Nix can't ever be that, and I'm not saying he needs to be that today. But for the long-term goals of this team, which from what we heard all offseason is we're going to win a Super Bowl sooner rather than, maybe not soon, but, we would like to be in that contending window in the next year. They wanted to be in it right now, but I still think they're, probably a half step back. Your quarterback's got to be able to make the plays that make things happen. And right now we're not seeing him make those. He does need that additional help from people outside. Is that a problem right now? Not necessarily, but you need to know that that clock is going to run out pretty quickly. We're in year 2, year 3 comes up next year, and it's not going to get any easier. The excuses aren't going to get any quieter, louder, doesn't matter. Next play.
I agree. And I saw people calling that a drop. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
What are we doing? Come on, guys. Come on. The only one that yeah. What was my complaint on this one? Oh, this is one where I'll kind of defer to you because you typically can read progressions and plays a lot more. This one, yes, you're going to work the front side here. You're going to probably work this out and up to Sutton, but I would like to see him get to this backside dig quicker than he does. I don't know. Maybe that's nitpicking. I did see a lot of people tell me that this isn't open, and I don't know how to be like, come on, what are we doing? This linebacker, yes, eventually gets here, but like, guys, what are we doing? Yeah, to me, this is just another like, I'm just gonna call it a miss. I'll stand by my guns and say you have to be able to work backside here. You've pointed this out before. When you have 4 defenders in zone coverage on one side of the field, you should recognize it and be able to work that side almost immediately. So the fact that he's still not able to do that quick enough to make these gains happen is bad. And again, this is a chunk. This is Marvin Mims with that much space. I mean, there's a safety way back here. I'm not saying it's going to be a touchdown, but this is going to be at least a 20-yard gain.
I agree. And not only is it just him seeing 4/3 and not ruling it out completely, it's 4/3 to the short side of the field. There's no chance. That area is just way too condensed for anything to be open. You've got to rule that out just off leverage alone and work backside.
And look at this pocket. Like, again, man, there are plays where, yes, there is a muddy pocket, but there are plenty, if not a fair majority, where he has beyond good pockets. Like, this is like laughably good. Like, if you have this in the NFL, oh my God, man, he could host a tea party. He could invite friends over. They're watching. What's the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie that I've been wanting to see? They're watching that movie. They're giving it great reviews. Heard great things about that movie. You got to be able to make throws. You got to be able to work out of pockets like this. And right now, again, it seems like he's one to check down. He's too quickly skipping over 2, or he's just not going to 2 at all. And that just cannot be the case. So, yeah, another miss here. Still ends up being a rushing fine game, but got to be able to make those plays in structure before we're excited about the plays out of structure. Here. An actual
this was
positive.
A really good one.
Yeah. This one got me. This was one when I saw it, again, we've talked a lot about some of the things he hasn't improved on. This is a true thing you can point at and be like, nice. I don't think you were making that play last year. I don't think you were truly setting on your rollout and finding the open guy over the middle of the field. So, yeah.
Was this on a fourth? Yeah, this was on a fourth down, too.
Yeah, this was 4th and 2.
That's it sucks because he'll do like the 4 or 5 other things that we mentioned this game, and then he'll come out of nowhere and he'll play like that, which is just like, we just need to see more.
Yeah. Yeah, well executed by the entire offense, honestly.
And he's such an athlete, too, to be able to stop like that, get square, get the ball out in that amount of time before that unblocked edge, getting a finger on you, like, it sucks.
That's one thing that's been a bit of a bummer, too. He seems slightly less willing to use his legs this year, which maybe that's not fair. Like, he has been scrambling.
8-2.
Yes. But I didn't save any of the clips. There have been a few of the RPO looks, the RPO bubble looks that he hasn't thrown. Those have frustrated me a little bit where, again, teams are sending nickel pressure. They are really trying to, like, especially when Denver's running these tighter condensed formations, teams are sending that inside corner, and such a great way to beat that. Like, I mean, it doesn't happen here, but such a great play is like, all right, man, this guy's going to come down. We're just going to have this guy pop out, you block. And now we've got, 2-on-1, and we can hopefully make a decent chunk gain happen. And he just has not been willing to make those throws yet this year. I don't really know why, but there have been at least a couple where it's like, man, like that's as good of a look in that situation as you're going to get to throw the pass, and you're not throwing the pass. And that's kind of like, when I think about how is the Bo Nix offense going to look this year, RPOs are a pretty big part of it. And to have him kind of, I think, be a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but a little timid to make some of the throws we need him to make on these RPOs, that will help the running game as well. Because, again, teams are just attacking from the edges on the run game, and it is killing them. So he needs to be able to kind of stretch these defenses out sideways more, whatever. And then, yeah, this is the last miss of the game. Again, what a call by Sean. I love the aggressiveness to just like, let's just throw up another shot on the boundary.
And this is the game winner right here.
Oh, my God, man. Can you imagine?
It's the exact same
Sutton's
thing
face
that happened.
is so funny here. Sutton just like just dead bodying into the earth is like the funny, like I was laughing at this for a good, like just the like he just felt that one in his soul. It just went down with it. It's truly painful, but I don't know. This one I think this was the one I was the most willing to be like, yeah, whatever, like this is tough. Sutton's getting bumped on his route. Like, this is another hard throw to make. I'm not going to pretend that this isn't as easy as like the 9 routes up the sideline. You literally have to factor in so much here to this route and trying to time it up perfectly. He actually sets it. The funny thing is, this is the one, of course, he sets his feet on and he still misses, but
exactly what I was saying earlier. Like, obviously he didn't hit it. This is a game winner. They punted the ball and Herbert just like walked us down, snatched our chain.
Oh, you knew.
But like, I'm not that I'm okay with it, but I'm much more comfortable with him missing a throw the way he did here compared to the throw he missed to Mims. At least here, he stood tall. He got enough air under it to let Sutton kind of run under it and get to it. He just put a little bit too much. And like, again, I'm not fine with it. You would like to see him hit these more and hit these consistently, but it's a lot better to watch this as opposed to him like what he did to Wattenberg and just sprinting in the pocket and overthrowing Mims.
Brutal. Right there, man. And as you said, that's the game. Like, this is literally game-winning drive throw right here. You would have gotten to say, like, we finally got the Bo Nix moment at the end of a game where he put on the backpack and carried the team to victory, but just
he hasn't had a single one yet in 20 starts.
Hasn't had one.
I will give him credit. He should have had one against Kansas City last year, but there still hasn't been one.
Which is funny because usually I do feel like at the end of these games, he does play usually pretty well. But yeah, I mean, he just hasn't put it all together, Like, we haven't had that moment where we can really be like, okay, cool. One thing that worries me, and I pray to God we get it this week, I'm very scared we're going to go through the season and watch Nix be the worst of the two QBs in a lot of games. And that scares me. I do not want to see Bo Nix get outplayed by every other starting quarterback in the NFL, because at a certain point, it's kind of like you just need your quarterback to be able to perform sometimes. And I'm not saying he hasn't, but like thus far, Cam Ward played a better game than him week one. I'll say that. Cam Ward looked good week one. Daniel Jones, we can all say what he's being asked to do. Maybe their offense is a lot more support, which I'd agree with. Daniel Jones outplayed him week two. And this is nothing against Bo Nix. Justin Herbert looks like he's going to finally, step into that MVP Super Saiyan 4 level. Justin Herbert outplayed him in week three. I would like to see 5 or 6 weeks this season where Bo Nix is maybe not clearly better, but is the better quarterback between the two that are playing. And we have not seen that yet. So definitely a little bit of, back and forth there. So those are all the clips we have for today. Thank you all for tuning in for that part. Robbie, you got any closing thoughts on Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and the offense?
I mean, we touched on so much of it today. It's just these things have to start coming together cohesively. We can't have one drive, he'll do one thing that looks good, but the rest of the plays will be bad. The next drive, it'll be the same thing. We just have to see more consistency down to down. And one thing that it's just hasn't been talked about a lot is, for better or worse, whether it's credit or blame at the end of Bo Nix's tenure or career in Denver, Sean Payton is tied at the hip to it. I don't believe if Bo Nix really tanks and he's not the guy, Sean Payton is not getting a chance to do it with anyone else. He is completely tied. Him and Nix's leash are tied together like this. And that's just going to be what it is. And I know I'm a huge fan of Sean Payton and what he does on offense, but there are things that I am genuinely concerned about in year 3 now. And there was somebody who put out a tweet on a scale of 1 to 10. How comfortable are you with Sean Payton at this point? And to me, it's probably about a 6. These things, I'm not that I'm, end of the world worried, but to this point, Denver still has not played to their potential against a team who is not in the bottom half of the league. We haven't seen it once. We saw it the one time against Kansas City, and yet what happened at the end of it? Another coaching gaffe. These things cannot consistently keep happening if you want to be a team that's going to compete in the NFL. And to his credit, it's not like they're getting blown out by these good teams. They got blown out by Buffalo in the playoff game and against Baltimore, but those are the only two. He's playing well in these games, but it always feels like at the end of these close games against a team who's over 500 as opposed to sub 500, there's one thing that you can point to where he got outcoached on something, whether it be the timeouts at the end of the Colts game, whether it be the fact that the leverage call, which a special teams coach doesn't know the fucking rule book. There's all these things that you can point to that are you can't have them. You cannot have him at year 3 for a guy you gave up a first-round pick for. You just genuinely can't have him. And it sucks because he was so consistently good at it in New Orleans. It's confusing. It's concerning. And for the rest of the season, hopefully we see a huge jump from it.
Also, Sean, the league's changed, brother. We gotta start going for wins and not going for hoping the other team makes a mistake. Because as we've seen these past few weeks, I'm not saying teams aren't going to make mistakes. Take the game into your own hands. You are Sean Payton. You are too good of an offensive play caller to not want to end games with not end it with your offense, but you know what I mean. Go for it. Try to win the games. Stop giving other teams these opportunities at the end to take it from you. If you have the chance to put so many examples where it's dude, just crank up the aggression. And it's so crazy when we look at, the Sean Payton disciple and Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell is just out there doing whatever the hell he wants. He is putting so much pressure on the opposing side of the ball. You better keep up with us. And we have not seen that yet from Sean. And on one hand, I'll give him the excuse, well, it's much easier to trust in this defense right now than this offense. Sure. But at the same time, that's kind of just not the way the league is right now. The league right now is, hey, we need to, A, take possessions away from the opposing offense, and B, we need to give ourselves as high of a chance to control the game as we can. And it just feels like he is not willing to just take control of games. Even was it the Colts game where they had the chance to go up 2 scores or multiple scores, and they just kept keeping it a 7-point game. And it's man, you're just not really getting it, it seems like, from that angle where it's like you just got to be able to push those advantages, especially because, and this is what frustrates me most, if you put teams at that deficit, guess what they have to do? Pass the ball. Guess what your defense is really good at? Stopping teams from passing the ball. So, like, dude, whatever. As we're both true Sean Payton lovers, but man, he's got some of the coaching stuff. He's got to just clean up. The penalties have been way too much this year, way too much. And there's areas where I will say, like, there's a couple things. The Bo Nix mechanic stuff, I don't put on him because I don't think Sean Payton is he's not the quarterback coach. Davis Webb, for whatever mechanical stuff is happening with Bo Nix, I don't think that's necessarily on Sean, but like, it is irrefutable that he replaced coaches from last year that were doing really well, and he's brought in all of his guys. And if they are not, operating up to snuff, that's on him, Yeah. That's pretty much, we're on the same page there. Yeah. Any thoughts before the Bengals game? Please, God, Bo, just look really good. That would be awesome. You're playing such a depleted Bengals team.
They've got to win. Like, the bar is at least 3 scores.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be.
I mean, it's crazy because the betting line, I think, is 7.5, 8.5, and like that should be a hammer. But I'm in a league right now. I'm in like a pick'em league, and I sat there thinking about it so long, just like, Jesus Christ, can they even do that? Like, do I trust this team to actually score like 27 points and hold another team to like 14? Or are they going to win a squeaker where it's 27-21 and the Bengals have the ball at the end, but then Jake Browning couldn't pull off the comeback or something? Because that just can't happen every week. It can't be like that against teams where there are winnable games on your schedule. You got to go out and win them. So, yeah. Robby, where can they find your wonderful work?
You can find my work over on Robby_NFL on Twitter. You can find, obviously, Full Field Read we do every week here. Occasionally, I'll throw up some breakdown videos on Bo Nix. I have a playlist on Russell Wilson's time in Denver, if that's your jam anymore. But yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, make sure you're following the Let's Talk Broncos people. They're awesome. We're going to be bringing you as much of this as we can. Apologies for the last couple of weeks. I work nights now, so it's weird finding the proper window. This noon Saturday window, it seems like it would work well for us. We'll see if the other people like it. Whatever. But seriously, thank you guys all for tuning in. It was a good watch, good venting sesh. I'm glad we were able to all kind of, establish our thoughts on where Bo Nix and the offense are. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in today. Make sure you're stopping in and watching all of our other stuff, and have a great rest of your Saturday and weekend. And enjoy a Sunday of football without the Broncos ruining it.